85 times between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 9:27, and every one of those times except for one, that's the definition that it means. So this word God, Elohim, is used over and over and over again in the Old Testament to describe God. Science, most people say, well, I don't follow God. I'm not a spiritual person. I believe in the science. And boy, has that not been a topic over about the last 4 or 5 years. Follow science, right? Follow the science. I looked at the word science out of Webster's, I think it was, and it says, science is the study and theoretical explanation of natural phenomena. That's number one. It says science is the study and theoretical explanation of natural phenomena. 2, it is a systematic activity requiring study and method. It's a systematic activity that requires study and method. So it's something that we can do repeatedly, right? And number 3, it says it's knowledge that's acquired through experience. It's knowledge that's acquired through experience. Now, when we get talking about how everything started here and where it all started out, we're talking about how did the earth come into being? And I know the science says it was the Big Bang, right? There was nothing, and it exploded, and out of that came everything, which we've talked about before. That belies a lot of the theories of thermodynamics. It just can't work. I say that to say this. Science is observable and repeatable. Science is observable, repeatable. Science experiment. If I was to wonder if there was gravity in this room, and I was to hold this pen out, and I was to drop it, and I was, well, it hit the floor. There must be gravity. Well, it might have been a fluke. Maybe it doesn't happen every time. So if I hold this pen up and drop it, and it drops 100 times, or 1,000 out of 1,000, or whatever it is, it's a scientific experiment to see if gravity applies in this room. We can observe it, we can repeat it, right? And it's going to come out the same result every time that we do it. That's what science is. Well, there's a problem with creation. You can't repeat it. You can't go back and create everything. And there's also another problem. There was no humanity there to observe it. So if nobody was there to observe it, and you can't repeat it, can it be science? It cannot. It cannot be science because you can't observe it and repeat it. So if it's not science, all our ideas on creation, if they're not science, what are they? They're a hypothesis or a faith. A faith. Science is the people who have the theory of evolution. Their faith is that it happened this way. Can you repeat it and observe it? No. So it is not science. They just have a faith that it happened in a certain way. We also have a faith that it happened in a certain way. Can we go back and prove that God did all that? No, we can't prove that. Let's be honest. We can't go back and prove that God did it. We can say God says He did it. We have some strong evidence that intelligent design is beyond it all, much rather than just random chance. So we think our faith is better, but it's a faith either way you go. Anybody speaking about the creation of everything is speaking out of faith. It's not science. And they like to hide behind that because it makes them feel intellectual, I guess, or their validity is a little more based because they hide behind this word science. Creation is not science. It's a faith that we all pick and choose how we believe that it happened. Now, let me give you just a quick example on intelligent design. There's an old term that says the watch demands a watchmaker. How many of you ever heard that? You ever heard that term? A watch demands a watchmaker. And I have done this at work like that. I said, I've taken this off and said, hey guys, if I told you that I was out digging in the backyard and I just dug this up, I found it, and it was in perfect working order, and the time was right, and it's amazing that all those parts came together and the natural I needed, and they were all just fit right, and they just felt that it just evolved that way. And of course, everybody looks at me like, you are a total idiot. And I said, well, in a way, but this watch is like a single protein is a billion times more complicated than this watch. And this carries out. And yet you'll believe that happened accidentally, but there's no way that this could. A watch is a watchmaker. And when you start looking at life, we've never reproduced life. One time we did produce, I think, a single amino acid in an experiment long ago, and they said that was the big, we've created life in the test tube. But the problem with that is they created an atmosphere that was so heavy on helium and low on oxygen that even if they created it, it couldn't survive in the environment that it was created in. So it would have immediately died in that environment because the things that needed to live were there. But they were able somehow electric and did a huge experiment that created an amino acid. I don't want to go too far into it, but in order for an amino acid to create a protein cell, and I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, you have to have 14 of them. And there has to be 7 left-handed amino acids, and there has to be 7 right-handed amino acids. There's 2 kinds. And you have to have a right-handed and a left-handed, and you have to have 7 of each in order to make a single protein cell. So even if you could create an atmosphere somehow that was highly controlled and not random at all, the ability to make 7 of each and have them come out and work together and make a protein cell is astronomically, mathematically impossible. You couldn't do it. So our scientists forget about a lot of these things when they go back to creation and they say, well, we've got the science and we go. And I have friends that do that well, or do that also because they believe that helps them somehow. But you're going to find, honestly, that most people that you look at, Darwin, Huxley, those type of people that believe in that, they had a habit, Brother Travis, or they had something in their life that did not want to make them submit to God. It was usually sexual activity. It was something that they were doing that was opposed to what God said that we should do, and they knew that if they went along with I believe that God did it, then we have to go along with the rest of the things God said, and they don't want to be accountable to a God. So they're trying to find a way around it, that there is no God, so we'll have to create a way that he could do it without having a God, and it just does not work. Again, it's observable and repeatable. Creation, explanation is faith. It's not science. Intelligent design, you can look all over and see that. Let me just throw this in quick too. We don't have, in the history of the planet, even if you say it's billions of years old, we don't have one transitionary fossil anywhere in the fossil records that shows one species becoming another species. There's no cat becoming a dog. There's no fish becoming a bird. There's species, and there's all kinds of dogs in the canine species, but they're all dogs. There's adaptation, but there's not evolution. And there's not one single fossil record anywhere that supports the fact of evolution. And you would think over billions of years, Brother Joe, you can find 1 or 2, right? Eventually, none. There are none. So I think our faith is a lot more sound than their faith. Number 2, he must be sovereign in the present. He must be eternal. He must have had no beginning. He must know all about the past. And he must be sovereign in the present. Hold your spot in Timothy. No, I'll tell you what, you can leave Timothy. We're probably not coming back there. Go back to Exodus chapter 3 and verse 14. Very familiar verse. Exodus chapter 3 and verse 14. Moses is talking with God, and God has told him that I want you to go back to Egypt, and I want you to help lead my people out. And of course, we know that Moses argues with that a little bit. Let's read verse 13 just to get a little context. And Moses said unto God, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and they shall say unto them, The God of your fathers has sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. God is present. He's not a God of the past. I know there are certain beliefs that believe that God started everything and then he just walked away and left it all to itself. In Exodus, God says, I am. I'm not I was, and it's not I will be, although he